Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Welcome back. Yesterday, Kate Forsyth's Fairytale Oracle arrived, and I thought I would do a walkthrough and play around with some pairings for you today. I had pre-ordered this deck on Amazon back in January when I really was feeling into fairy tales and wanted some more fairy tale decks in my collection, and I was really looking forward to this deck's arrival, so I'm so glad that it's finally here. A little bit about Kate herself. She's an internationally acclaimed author from Australia. She actually has a PhD in fairy tales, which I think is so great and adds so much nuance to this deck and the guidebook. She's best known for her reimaginations of fairy tale stories from a feminist perspective. And I actually didn't realize this, and I kind of recognized her name, but it didn't really click until I started kind of looking up her work. But she wrote one of my favorite book series as a kid, The Witches of Elianan. I don't know how to say it exactly, but hopefully I'm not butchering that. Yeah, I thought I had recognized her name, and that's why I feel like I'm definitely going to be revisiting that series because I always look forward to rereading some of the books that I really enjoyed as a kid or as a young adult, a teenager, and seeing what I remember in the books and what's actually in the books, because I feel like I've gone back to revisit some stories, and these huge elaborate scenes that I remember from the books that are in my head end up being like a paragraph long in some of these books. I'm like, dang, my imagination was pretty crazy as a kid. Who would have thought? So I definitely feel like I'm going to be dusting those books off the shelves and seeing, how I remember those, and then checking out some of her other works as well. The artist, the person who illustrated the deck, is Merle Hunt, and she specializes in traditional illustrations. I would say if you like this deck, I highly recommend checking out her website, merlemadetales.com, where she sells some illustrated like stationery and gifts with fairy tale and literature themes. She has a bunch of cute stuff there. So getting into the box, first off, the box is very sturdy. It has kind of like a linen finish feeling with some gold gilding on the letters. I think you can see it kind of shimmer. It feels very well made. I really love, the Red Riding Hood and the red on the box. It's definitely something, this box will protect your cards. I love the red and gold and white. On the inside, we have fairy tales are stories in which the suffering at last comes to an end, which I think is, really beautiful. The cards, there's 44 cards in this deck. We have some gold gilding, and the deck is like a linen type finish. It feels really great. One thing that I really like about this is the finish on it reminds me of the finish on a painting. It's not shiny, it's not just flat matte. There's like a texture to it, which I think is really lovely. And kind of makes it feel, pretty special, especially since this is a mass market deck. So look, the guidebook is fully illustrated. There's 11 fairy tales in the deck, and for each fairy tale there's 4 cards that reflect, key archetypes and snapshots of each journey through the fairy tales. And then once you get into the guidebook, you have the how to use the cards. You can use it as a deep study of a single fairy tale, so like as a jumping off point, because for each of the fairy tales, Kate has a short little retelling of the fairy tales, and then the history of the tale as well, and how it's kind of changed over time. For each of the cards, you can also use this as a more, traditional oracle if you want to use it that way as well. So you have the fairy tale on the card, the keyword, the theme. You have a dark face and a bright face, so maybe a shadow meaning and a light meaning, just like a mantra or a short snippet. And then you have the detailed imagery, like a detailed description of the imagery, and then the actual meaning of the card. So you get so much for such a small little guidebook. I feel like it's, really well done, and there's a lot here to unpack. So let's flip through the cards. So the first fairy tale is Rapunzel. You have Stolen Herb, Tower, the Ladder of Hair, Healing Tears, Cathartic Release. You have Sleeping Beauty, the Spinning Wheel, Deep Sleep, Hedge of Thorns, the Kiss. You have Cinderella. I really love that there's no borders on this card, and even the title and description doesn't feel like it takes away from the card illustrations as well. I think you could, if you didn't want to get into the guidebook, you could use this deck as its own thing. Like you don't necessarily have to get into the guidebook. So you have Beauty and the Beast, you have the Beast and Compassion. And so between the title, the descriptions, and then the actual illustrations, I feel like you can get enough out of this deck where you don't necessarily have to dig into the guidebook. But the guidebook is so well written that I think I'll probably be using the guidebook a bit. But if there's days that you don't want to necessarily get into it, and you want a lighter read, I think that these cards will work just fine. Bluebeard. Now this is probably the only fairy tale that I'm not as familiar with, so I'm looking forward to digging into this one. I feel like I recognize it, but I don't know that this is a story that I, went back to again and again. So definitely looking forward to digging into Bluebeard a little bit. We have Hansel and Gretel. Little Red Riding Hood. Wild Swans. This is another one that I'm less familiar with and looking forward to digging into a little bit more. Rumpelstiltskin. The Riddle. Be open to possibilities. I love that. And the Black Cat. Snow White. So I'm going to shuffle this up and see if we can pull, you know, maybe one card. Shuffles really well. Let's get an example of one card. Ooh. All right, let's pick this one. Oh, Bluebeard. How great. All right, so we have Bluebeard, the bloody key unlocking. Number 22, which I like that the cards are numbered. You can very quickly get into the guidebook for it. So for the dark face, we have you lock away things you wish to keep secret. For the brighter face, you unlock things you want to set free. Keys are rich in symbolic meaning. You lock away things you wish to keep safe or secret, and you unlock things you wish to set free. Many liminal gods and goddesses are depicted with keys, including two-faced Janus, the Roman god of gates and doorways, whose name was given to January, the first month of the new year. Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, was known as the key bearer. She was customarily worshipped at crossroads, doorways, and bridges, the places where the living world and the underworld meet. The key she carried was a symbol of her power to unlock the mysteries and customarily kept hidden. This association of the key with death and the underworld is also seen in depictions of Anubis, the jackal-headed Egyptian lord of death, who carried the Ankh, or key of life, to unlock the path to immortality. Blood is also a symbol of life, death, and resurrection. Bluebeard's utter disregard for the sanctity of life is shown in the way he spills blood everywhere. The heroine's inability to wash away the blood from the key she carries shows that once she has seen what lies within the forbidden room, she cannot return to her former state of naive innocence. She knows what had been kept hidden and is then empowered to work towards winning her freedom. The meaning. Drawing bloody key means you should understand you are ready to unlock something that you or someone else has long kept hidden. Take time to reflect, because this is a transitional moment, and once your decision has been made, it cannot be unmade. Do not fear. Enlightenment is always better than ignorance. Okay, that's funny because I keep getting themes like this lately in my reading, so how fitting that it showed up today walking through this. So I think, that gives you an idea of the deck and the detailed description. And it's not all just fairy tale related, right? You have the details with gods and goddesses, and there's a lot more to it than just on the surface a fairy tale. So I have a couple of decks that I want to pair this with. Let's see, for the first one, of course, I thought let's pair it with the Fairytale Tarot by Lisa Hunt, because, fairy tales should go with fairy tales, right? We have the Two of Wands, the Sun, the Little Mermaid Sea, listen to your unconscious. Happily Ever After, Prince of Pentacles, and we have Crossroads, choose your way. Interesting. I really think the artwork kind of works pretty well together, honestly. I wasn't sure. We have Princess of Cups, Sleeping Beauty, The Kiss, Integration, and Nine of Cups. Yeah, I think this could work well together, honestly. The Wise Old Man, the Emperor, the Lovers, Forbidden Chamber, Disobedience. Interesting. Yeah, I feel like that could work. What do you think? Now the next deck I wanted to see how it might pair is the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, because this also kind of has a fairy tale type theme going on with it. So we have the Six of Boons, the Four of Spells, and Grandmother. Ancient Wisdom. The Five of Challenges, the Eight of Spells, and Flame Regeneration. Seven, the Fairy Wind, Dark Forest Initiation, and then the Keeper of Spells. I do like the artwork together, but I have not really worked with the Forest of Enchantment that much. This is going to be one that I want to do a deck study with, so I feel like you would have to kind of know this deck pretty well to be able to have a little bit easier of a read. It's kind of making me pause, and I have to think, oh, what are the boons? What are the spells? And then how does that, I have to translate those first. Three of Boons, Ace of Boons, and the Spinning Wheel, Thread of Fate. Yeah, so if you're down for kind of a slower read, if you're not as familiar with this deck, I think, you know, it's a good option. But I mean, the decks are so pretty together, that's for sure. The Weaver of Visions, Nettle, Resolutely Face Your Difficulties, and then the Nine of Spells. Yeah, so this is more, if you're in a more advanced place with this deck specifically, I think, you know, it's a good option, but maybe if you want to have a more fun, relaxed, deeper reading, because the guidebook for Forest of Enchantment is, you know, very robust as well. So that's a good option there. The next deck I wanted to try is more fun. It's the Tarot of Mystical Moments. Oh, look at the backs. They're kind of similar, don't you think? So we have the Seven of Wands, the Bog, Threshold, and the World. Oh, interesting. I kind of like that. We have the King of Wands, the Three of Cups, and the Bloody Key, Unlocking. The Four of Wands, the Beast, Compassion, and the Ten of Swords. Interesting. I do think that these work well together, and it's kind of, they're different art styles, but there's a bit of whimsy here that I'm really enjoying. The Five of Wands, Imp, embrace your inner child, and then the Five of Cups. Interesting. Yeah, so I think this one might be one that I might use it with. Six of Wands, Glass Coffin, Rebirth, and the Fool. I like it. What do you think about this one? Let me know your thoughts. The next deck I thought would be fun to pair it with is the Magical Creatures Tarot, because how can you not pair magical creatures with Fairytales? They just kind of go hand in hand together. Now, I will say, I don't know that the art styles will go together, but, you know, we're experimenting here, so why not try it? So we have Justice, the Two of Wands, and the Magic Ring, Constancy. We have Strength, the Queen of Wands, and the Dove from Hansel and Gretel, Guidance. I don't hate it. I don't know that I love it. With the Two of Cups, the Seven of Swords, and Rags and Ashes, Injustice from Cinderella. The King of Wands, the Four of Swords, and Midnight Clock, Time Flies. I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one. What do you all think? It's not the best pairing, but not the worst. The Page of Wands, Glass Slipper, Recognition, and the Ten of Wands. I don't know. I don't know that they're speaking to each other very well. Cauldron, Bluebeard, Face Your Shadow, and the Seven of Wands. I don't know. I'm not sure that I like it, but it was a good idea. Nice try, Justine. What do you think about that one? Let me know. All right, so the last deck that I was thinking of pairing this with is the Dreaming Way Tarot, because I was thinking, you know, there's so much meaning to each card in the Fairytale Oracle that it might be easier to have a more traditional Rider-Waite-Smith type deck. That way you're not falling, you can fall down the rabbit hole of the fairy tale and the meaning of the oracle, and the oracle is the star of the show, whereas I feel like the other pairings that I've tried, they've definitely competed with the oracle. So it kind of depends on maybe what you want as far as your oracle being the main focus or the tarot being the main focus. So I thought Dreaming Way might be a fun one to try. So we have the 8 of Swords, the Lovers, and Rumpelstiltskin's riddle, be open to possibilities. 8 of Swords reversed. We have the Moon, Judgment, and the Apple, Knowledge. Yeah, I kind of like it. The 8 of Cups, the 6 of Cups, the Swan, creative inspiration. It's kind of like the 8 of Cups is looking back at the 6 of Cups for some inspiration there. It's kind of fun. We have the 4 of Pentacles, the 5 of Pentacles. Did I shuffle this? Who knows? And the Dagger, seize the sword. Interesting. We have the 9 of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, and the Wolf. Don't be afraid of your wild side. Yeah, I think it could work. I think I'm liking the Lisa Hunt's Fairytale Tarot the best as a pairing, which seems kind of silly, but they do work really well together. We have the Page of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles, and Healing Tears, cathartic release. Interesting. I do like that. You know, the sensitivity, fragile. We have the dependability, or, you know, kind of inflexible Knight of Pentacles. And then you have like the cathartic release and how they kind of juxtapose each other a little bit. I don't hate it. 5 of Swords reversed, the High Priestess. We have Rose, love is worth the risk. Interesting. I do like it. I feel like they are speaking together. Very interesting. What do you think about that one? Do you like the Dreaming Way paired up? So that is the Fairytale Oracle. Let me know your thoughts. Do you already have this deck, or do you think this is a deck you'll be purchasing? I think I'm really going to enjoy the deck. If you have it, are you already pairing it with decks? I would really love to see what decks are being paired with this, if there are any others that I need to think about that I haven't really had a chance to look at with it. Let me know. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you again soon.